Hello, everyone. We're live. I am Andrew Brown, and today Dane and I are going to discuss push hands as an infinite game. So, Dane, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you tonight, Andrew?
It's been a good day. I got to go to the dentist, and I feel clean. Well, so we've been playing push hands for many, many years. When was the first time you played push hands, by the way?
Well, I guess I started around 2000, around 2004 or so.
Oh, that is about the same time I started doing Tai Chi. And my first teachers, they were females, and they didn't enjoy doing push hands with men, so I didn't get a lot of exposure. But the first time I got to play was at a World Tai Chi Day event, and we got to go out there, and there was other teachers, and they were having push hands classes, and so I got to introduce to push hands really right there. And since then, I've been really interested in the game. I've been playing it. Well, up until COVID, I was playing it almost every day for a long time. So, Dane, why don't you tell us a little bit about what is an infinite game so we can understand this concept right away?
Yeah, this is a concept from mathematical game theory that I think is really helpful for understanding push hands and getting the most value out of your practice. And push hands, just in case there's anybody who doesn't know, Tai Chi consists of solo practice and partner practice. As an energy cultivation practice, there are solo exercises. As a martial art, there are partner practices, and push hands is the main partner exercise. And there are some people who do Tai Chi and don't do push hands. But for those who do push hands, you know how great it is. It's awesome. It's a lot of fun, and it's kind of unusual as a game, at least if you, depending on how you play it. My Sifu would always say, in push hands, you don't push and you don't use your hands. So it's kind of counterintuitive, but the aspect that I want to point to is that push hands is best played as an infinite game rather than a finite game. And in game theory, a finite game is a game that is played to win or lose. It has like a terminating algorithm, and there's plenty of examples of these all over the world of sports, tennis, football, chess. There's two players, they're playing a game, and there's an algorithm that terminates it. It is designed so that the game will result with one winner and one loser, and it will end in finite time eventually that way. An infinite game is a game where and by a game I just mean an interaction between two individuals or two parties. An infinite game is a game where the aim is not to win or lose, but to keep playing. And it might be a little bit harder to think of examples of games like this because they seem to not be as common, or we don't think of them as games. But what about is playing catch? You throw a ball back and forth, or what about just two kids playing on a seesaw? You're just moving up and down, and there's no winning or losing. There's no end. You play as long as you want until you're done, basically. But there's no terminating algorithm that results in the game ending with one winner and one loser. And it's really helpful and important, I think, to think of push hands in this regard, that you're not playing to win. You're not playing to come to an end point. It's not the purpose of the game. And I consider there to be three main reasons for this. Starting with that, the purpose of push hands is skill development. not ego development. It's not about determining who's better. It's about improving the skill of both players. So the way to get the most value and benefit out of push hands is not to try to beat your partner, but rather to give them a continuous learnable challenge to their structure and their equilibrium, meaning you're trying to off balance them a little bit, but you're not trying to make them fall down. You're trying to disrupt their structure, but you're not trying to push them away or knock them over. You're trying to challenge them so that they then have a problem that they have to deal with. They have a challenge to their balance that they have to learn how to manage. And at the same time, they're doing the same thing too. They're not trying to dominate you, to knock you down, to push you away. They're trying to challenge your balance and your equilibrium so that you can, in your structure, so that you can figure out how to deal with that kind of challenge. And you're doing this with each other. And if you do it this way, it doesn't matter what the relative skill level of the participants is. If you are a grandmaster with 20 years experience and you're playing with somebody who's brand new, it's their first time, sure, you could very easily dominate them, but that's not the point. You're giving them a challenge that is just out of reach for them, so they have to stretch a little bit to make it work, to keep their balance, to keep their structure. And then by making that effort, they can get a little bit better. And by you calibrating the challenge you're giving them, you're actually giving yourself a challenge as well. You're not riding on your laurels and making it easy for yourself by totally dominating them. It's sort of like almost you're handicapping yourself in a sense, so that they're able to challenge you, so that you can develop your skill even in that interaction. And even if you're one way you're doing this, even if you're playing with somebody who has much less experience and skill level than you can still improve your skill while you're playing with them.
Yeah. One thing I have to hit on. I've been, when I had my meetups, and we had different people come all the time, but one guy that was really consistent, he had 35 years of experience, just push hands and Tai Chi. And so he was very good. He had a route that very few people could to even nudge. But he was great to play with because he would show you where you like, oh, I got you here, I got you here, I got you here. He was a great teacher in that way. He wasn't like a teacher and he had a studio or anything. He was just experienced and he would play with you. And so me with, say, 15 years of experience, when I would play with someone who was just starting Tai Chi, yeah, it's the exact same rules. You got to just give them the challenge and then don't throw them to the ground. Don't force them into feeling like, oh, man, I'm losing. I can't get this. I don't understand it. You just got to keep encouraging them by just letting them go off their balance and then letting them catch it back and then come right back in. Keep that game going. It's a lot more fun that way. It's like you said, if someone has a lot of ego, yeah, they can get frustrated by playing against someone who's really good, and they can also get, I wouldn't say violent, but too aggressive against someone who's not that good. Because they're like, I'm so good. And they throw the person to the ground. Oh, got you again. And
right.
So
right. If it becomes about ego, then it's a lot more dangerous. That's how people get hurt, for one thing. And also it's just not effective for learning. Because if you're dominating somebody, you're not challenging your skill. And if you're being dominated, then like you said, that's discouraging. It's frustrating, and it doesn't assist the learning process. And in fact, anytime you win in push hands, you win by dominating the other person, meaning maybe you shove them into the wall or you knock them down or whatever. You interrupt the learning process because they've got to get up, they've got to come back over, you've got to start again, actually playing the game. It's when you're playing that you're learning. When you interrupt, when you win, you're not playing anymore, even for just a few seconds, but that's a few seconds wasted that you could have still been playing and learning. So the for the purpose of skill development, winning and losing have nothing to do with it. It's about keeping the game going so you can continuously improve your skill. And there's also another angle to this that I think is important, which is one definition of intelligence is that it is the quality of a system that maximizes its future degrees of freedom. That maximizes the future degrees of freedom of the system. So if you have a system that maximizes its future degrees of freedom, that's what you would call an intelligent system. And so playing push hands as an infinite game is in that sense, it's the most intelligent way to play, because if you are able to one of the things we are avoiding in push hands in order to keep playing, in order to keep moving, is we are trying to avoid getting stuck. Well, of course, your partner is trying to make you get stuck, because that's the point. You're trying to learn how to deal with that kind of a challenge. So by developing the ability to avoid getting stuck, to avoid letting yourself be backed into a corner, to avoid letting yourself get bound up, as we would say, you are developing your kinesthetic intelligence. And that is exactly the quality that, one of the qualities that we're trying to develop with push hands. So in other words, if you can just like grab onto somebody and cling to them and hold them there so they can't move, well, guess what? You can't move either. If you bind somebody up with your body, you're also binding yourself up, which is limiting your future options. So the point is not to the point is to challenge your partner's structure and equilibrium and maybe get them stuck, but in a way that you are not stuck, in a way that you are still completely free to move and unbound. So
that's the
developing the kinesthetic intelligence by developing the ability to not get stuck, essentially being an escape artist. That's also part of the purpose of push hands.
Yeah. Well, like you said, getting to the point where you're free to keep moving, but your opponent is bound or almost is limited to range of motion. That's the best kind of strategy in most games. You get them to the point where they can't really fight back. And then now you have freedom to just poke and prod them until you feel, oh, I'll let you go or I'll finish you off.
Right. If you can restrict, if you can restrict their options without restricting yours, that's a strategic victory.
Domination.
Of course, you don't want to restrict their options completely, because then you're winning and they're dominated, and the play stops and the learning stops, and they can get frustrated. You want to limit their options, but you want to give them a learnable challenge, something that they actually can still find their way out of.
Now, one of the things I love about push hands is it's usually practiced a little slow and gentle, of course, just like Tai Chi. But even if you get knocked down or you get thrown away and you break that contact, we just walk right back up and, okay, let's start again. And then you do like a few circles and then you start improv, like contact improv a bit.
Yeah.
So we can just keep playing and no one's getting hurt, no one's getting injured. The ego thing doesn't get bruised because we're not hurting each other to win that round, you know? That's a big deal.
Yeah, it's all fun and games, and it really can help to kind of tame the ego in a sense. I mean, there's also something my Sifu said, which is that you have to get pushed 1,000 times to learn how to not be pushed, and to learn how to not resist. And it's a process that we all go through. That, like, first you feel yourself getting pushed, and the response is to tense up and resist, and you have to learn to let that go and just let yourself be pushed, be free and fluid, and by doing that, then you can learn how to flow around and not allow yourself to be pushed. But if you're struggling and resisting, you'll never learn that. That's why my Sifu identified the 3 defects of strength versus strength, resisting, and getting rid of the opponent.
They're throwing away.
Yeah, I mean, you lose contact, and there are practical reasons for that, but also from in the context of what we're talking about, you don't want to get rid of the opponent in push hands. You want to keep the play going. You want to keep them in control without dominating them. So you really it's a great opportunity to learn to let go of your ego and let go of the impulse to immediately resist and tense up to whenever you encounter opposition. And then the third,
one of the main ideas. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just one of the main ideas in push hands is sticking. Once you make contact, you're stuck to your opponent, and you're just moving into a better position. You're not trying to break that contact, because when we're talking about fighting, because the whole point of push hands, it's the fighting practice of Tai Chi. Learning how to sense what your opponent's doing by they're touching me, they're pushing me into my hip, trying to trap me, and I can roll around that and then counter them and pull them down and let them fall, instead of resisting it, like you said, and freezing up, or catching them and grasping and holding on, and then they can just do something else. We don't want to do that. We're trying to constantly flow, but keep it lively.
Right. Contact allows you is your source of information as well as your source of control. So if you lose contact, it's almost like being blind. You're not able to sense.
Yeah.
Sense.
I like to play with my eyes closed. I think that's always a fun way to play.
If you don't have that contact, then you're not able to sense what's going on in their body. And then the third reason that I think it's really important to understand and to play push hands as an infinite game has to do with flow states and the 6 qualities. The 6 qualities are something we talk about as the 6 qualities of optimal human performance, or flow state inducement. In other words, a flow state is a term from psychology, which is just a state that a human being is in when they are operating at their full potential. So if an athlete when they're performing, or maybe somebody in the business world, or an actor, or somebody who's just performing at the peak of human ability, is operating in a flow state. And the 6 qualities are what induce flow states. And the push hands is specifically designed to develop those 6 qualities. Structure and equilibrium, we already mentioned as kind of the main ones. We're challenging our partners, structure and equilibrium, but there's also fluidity, body unity, sensitivity, and spontaneity. And fluidity is the quality of being like a fluid, of being in flow, being continuously in motion, similar to the property that we were talking about of not getting stuck, not getting bound. Like, it's like, if you try to squeeze a handful of sand, it just puts out.
You lose it. Yeah.
And that's the kind of the quality of fluidity. So we want to avoid getting stuck, and we want to avoid stopping, because we want to specifically develop the quality of fluidity so that we can learn how to easily slip into flow state at will. So if you're trying to dominate, if you're trying to win, then you miss out on that quality of being in flow, of quality of fluidity and being in flow that is one of the greatest rewards of this activity.
For sure. So Dane, where can people find more information about push hands and Tai Chi in general?
Well, if you are interested in establishing your own personal daily mind-body energetic hygiene practice, we are here to support you. We have a free group on Facebook. It's called the 7-Day Qigong Non-Challenge. We have a membership program. It's an online learning community. You are welcome to join if you'd like to go deeper with your practice. And we also have free classes on Meetup. You can find all this stuff on our website, Chai Tea Tai Chi. Also, if you're seeing this on YouTube or on Facebook, or wherever you're seeing it, feel free to just reach out directly to us. And we love to meet new people and make new friends.
Yeah, the information, we try to give it out as free as possible. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. Hope you learned a little bit. And Dane, thank you for joining us and teaching us a little bit more. Have a good night.
Shout out to Luen and Steven. See both of you guys watching. Thanks for being here. Have a good night, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.